beloved child. Let's begin with a simple but honest question. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, why am I here? What am I meant to do with my life? Maybe you've asked, how does God want me to live? Am I missing something important? If so, you're not alone. In fact, nearly everyone who cares about living a meaningful life asks these questions at some point. Maybe you're in your 20s, 30s, or maybe you've seen more seasons come and go, but deep down, you want to know, is there a path I'm supposed to walk? A purpose only I can fulfill? Sometimes life feels like a puzzle with a few missing pieces. You work hard, you try your best, you look after your family, you make plans, but still, there's an emptiness you can't quite explain. Some days are bright, filled with laughter and sunlight, others are heavy, and you feel like you're wandering in circles. It's not always about big moments or dramatic events. It's about those quiet mornings when you sit with your coffee and the world feels still. Or those evenings when the questions seem louder than the answers. And yet, in the middle of all the busyness, disappointments, and hopes, you might wonder, does God notice me? Did He create me for a reason? Or am I just drifting through life? I want you to know the search for purpose is not a sign that you're lost. It's a sign that your heart is alive, still searching for what truly matters. It means you're ready to listen, to find out if there's more to life than routines and responsibilities. If you're watching this, maybe you grew up hearing about God, or maybe faith feels new and a little uncertain. No matter where you stand, I invite you to pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Set down the burdens you're carrying, just for a little while. Imagine you're sitting across from someone who understands your struggles, someone who isn't here to judge, but to walk alongside you as you ask life's biggest questions. We live in a world that measures success in numbers, how much money we make, how many likes we get, how busy we are. But deep inside, we crave something richer, a life that means something. A story that's more than just a collection of busy days. That's why, in this video, we're going to gently explore what it really means to find your purpose in God. Not as a checklist or a set of rules, but as a living, breathing journey. Together, we'll listen to Jesus' teachings and see how His words can help us uncover our own path. Step by step. Maybe you're thinking, I'm not special, I'm not holy, my life is just ordinary. But if there's one thing Jesus made clear, it's that God's love and calling are for everyone, not just for the famous, the powerful, or the perfect people. When Jesus looked at fishermen, tax collectors, and people who felt like outsiders, He didn't see failures. He saw sons and daughters with purpose and potential. And that means you, too. Finding your purpose doesn't mean you have to change the whole world overnight. Sometimes, it begins with the simplest invitation. Come, follow me. That was how Jesus spoke to people just like you and me. He didn't hand them a map or a step-by-step manual for life. Instead, He called them to walk with Him, to learn by living, to grow by trusting. If you're feeling stuck or uncertain, remember, God never expects you to have everything figured out. What matters is that you're open to the journey. Maybe you're carrying regret, shame, or disappointment. Maybe you've tried and failed. Or maybe you've been waiting for a sign that never seems to come. I want to encourage you. Every story of purpose begins in the middle of confusion, not at the finish line. So, where do you start? often. The first step is simply to listen, to pay attention to the gentle nudges in your heart. Sometimes, God speaks in whispers, not shouts. You might feel a longing to help others, a desire to create, or a deep need for healing and connection. These are not random. They are signs that your soul is searching for its true home. One of the things Jesus taught over and over is that the most important purpose in life is to love God, to love others, and to love yourself as someone created by God. This kind of love isn't just a feeling, it's a way of living. It's the choice to see yourself and the people around you as precious and valuable, no matter your past. When you choose to love, even in small ways, you start walking in your God-given purpose, even if you don't realize it yet. Maybe you're asking, how can I know what God wants for my life? There's no magic formula, but there are signs along the way. Sometimes it's a sense of peace you feel when you help someone in need, or the quiet conviction you experience when you do what's right. Even when it's hard, God's purpose isn't always about the big, dramatic gestures. Often, it's found in the small, faithful steps you take each day. If your heart feels restless, that's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that God is calling you onward, inviting you to discover what only you can bring to this world. Don't be afraid of your questions. They are the doorways to something deeper. So, my friend, as we begin this journey together, I want to remind you, your life has meaning. Even if you can't see it right now. The path ahead may not be clear, but you are not walking alone. If you're ready, let's keep moving forward step by step toward the life God wants for you, and the peace that comes from knowing you're living with purpose. Now, as we reflect on what it means to listen for God's voice and follow His gentle nudges, let's explore how loving others, even in small and simple ways, can help us discover more about who we are and why we're here. You know, sometimes we expect that discovering our purpose will feel like a lightning bolt, a sudden flash that makes everything clear. But in real life, it's usually more like the sunrise, slow, steady, and a little brighter each day. And the light often comes as we step out and try, not while we're waiting for certainty on the sidelines. Let me share a story, maybe you'll see yourself in it. There was a woman in my neighborhood, not much different from you or me. She worked a simple job, came home tired, and often felt like she wasn't making much of a difference. But one thing set her apart every morning before the day rushed in. She sat quietly with her coffee, whispered a short prayer, and asked God to use her somehow. Most days, she didn't hear any answers. But over time, she began to notice small things: a friend who needed a listening ear, a neighbor struggling to carry groceries, a child who just needed a smile. Each little act felt almost invisible, but together they built a pattern, a life of kindness, of quiet purpose. Years later, people would say her presence brought peace and comfort, even though she never stood on a stage or held a fancy title. That's the beauty of following Jesus. Purpose isn't reserved for a chosen few. You don't have to wait until you're perfect, or wealthy, or wise. You don't even need a plan carved in stone. God's will for your life often begins with a simple willingness to serve, to notice the needs around you, and to act with compassion even when no one is watching. Think about the people Jesus chose as His closest friends. He didn't seek out the most successful or impressive. He invited fishermen, tax collectors, people with complicated pasts. Some of them doubted, some failed him, but all were welcomed. Through their everyday lives, in their strengths and weaknesses, they became part of something far greater than themselves. Purpose doesn't always look like what the world admires. Sometimes it means being faithful in your daily routine, showing up for your family, doing your work honestly, or offering forgiveness when you could hold a grudge. When you love those around you, even if it's just by being patient or lending a hand, you are living God's desire for your life. Sometimes, the path will feel unclear, and you might be tempted to compare yourself with others. But remember, God didn't create you to be someone else. He made you with your own set of gifts, struggles, and dreams. Your journey is unique, and so is the way God will use you. Maybe you feel too broken, too ordinary, or too late to make a difference. But if you look at the stories Jesus told, you'll notice something surprising. He valued the overlooked, the last in line, the ones who thought their lives were too small to matter. There's the parable of the lost sheep, where the shepherd leaves 99 behind just to find the one that wandered away. Or the widow who offered only 2 small coins. Jesus said she gave more than anyone because she gave from her heart. You might be wondering, how do I know what God wants me to do right now? Here's something practical you can try. At the start of each day, ask, God, show me who needs my help today. Open my eyes to what matters. Don't worry about grand gestures. Look for the ordinary moments, a kind word, a helping hand, a bit of patience with someone who's struggling. Little by little, these choices shape your character and bring light into the lives around you. And sometimes, living your purpose means being gentle with yourself, too. Maybe you need rest. Maybe you need to forgive yourself for mistakes. God's plan for your life includes healing and growth, not just endless striving. When you're able to receive God's love and let it fill the empty spaces, you'll find you have more to give to others as well. I remember a time in my own life when everything felt unsettled. Work was stressful, relationships were hard, and I felt lost. I kept asking, God, what do you want from me? What am I missing? I didn't get a dramatic answer. But slowly, I realized that purpose isn't always a destination, it's a direction. Each day, I chose to show up, to try, to care a little more. With each small step, my heart changed. I found joy in serving others, and peace in trusting that God was guiding me, even when the way wasn't clear. If you feel like you're still searching, remember this: God isn't finished with you. As long as you're breathing, your life has meaning. It's never too late to start again, to learn, to love, and to make a difference. The world needs your kindness, your strength, your story. Let's take a moment. Close your eyes and think about someone who might need encouragement. A friend, a family member, maybe even yourself. How could you reach out today? Maybe a call, a message, or just a silent prayer for their well-being. These small choices add up to a life of purpose as we keep walking this path together. Don't be afraid of not knowing everything at once. Life with God is a journey, not a race. Each day brings a new opportunity to listen, to learn, and to let your life shine right where you are. And as we sit with these thoughts, I hope you're starting to see that purpose isn't always about changing the whole world. Sometimes it's about changing one small corner of it, a kitchen filled with laughter, a hospital room visited with hope, a neighborhood brought together by simple acts of care. The little things we do, sometimes with trembling hands or tired hearts, can become the most important parts of someone else's story. That's how God weaves ordinary lives into something extraordinary, one loving act at a time. You might be wondering, but what if I keep making mistakes? What if I fall back into old habits or lose sight of what matters, friend? You're not alone in that either. Every person you admire, every story you've ever heard of courage or kindness, has chapters of stumbling and starting over. Even the closest followers of Jesus, those who walked beside him and saw his miracles, struggled with doubt and fear. Yet, Jesus never gave up on them. He gently called them back, over and over, inviting them to stand up and keep going. If you're struggling with regrets or guilt, remember this: God isn't waiting for you to be perfect before he uses you. He works through our weakness as much as our strengths. Sometimes, our deepest pain becomes the wellspring of the greatest compassion. The parts of your story that feel broken can become the places where God's light shines the brightest, offering hope to others who feel alone in their struggles. There's a beautiful freedom in letting go of the idea that you have to earn your purpose. You are already loved, already seen, already chosen. Purpose grows from that place, not from pressure or fear, but from the security of knowing that your Creator delights in you, just as you are. The more you lean into that love, the more you find yourself wanting to share it with the people around you. And that's where purpose takes root in relationships, in daily choices, in the way you treat yourself and others. And let's talk honestly about doubts, too. It's natural to wonder if God is really listening, especially when prayers seem to go unanswered or when life feels heavy. But faith isn't about never having questions. It's about choosing to trust, even when the way isn't clear. If you've been praying for a sign, longing for direction, and all you hear is silence, don't give up. Sometimes, God speaks most clearly in the quiet moments when you step away from the noise and allow your heart to be still. There, in the gentle whisper, you might sense a nudge, an idea, a bit of courage you didn't have before. And if you feel like you have nothing to offer, I promise you're mistaken. Every single person has something unique, a kindness, a perspective, a skill, a story that no one else can give in quite the same way. Sometimes your greatest gift is simply being present, listening without judgment, or reminding someone that they matter. Sometimes it's sharing a meal, sending a note, or praying for someone who's hurting. These small acts ripple out in ways you may never see, but they matter deeply as you move through your days. Ask yourself, how can I bring a little more light into this moment? The answer won't always be the same. Some days, it might be reaching out to someone else. Other days, it might be extending grace to yourself. Remember, your worth isn't measured by how much you achieve, but by the love you give and receive. Sometimes, people worry that finding purpose means leaving everything behind and starting over. But most of the time, God's invitation is simply to be faithful where you are. That could mean showing up for your children, honoring your parents, serving your community, or pursuing a dream you've set aside for too long. It could mean caring for your health, seeking healing, or finally forgiving yourself for what you cannot change. So here's my invitation to you. Let go of the idea that you need all the answers before you begin. Start where you are, with what you have. Ask God each day, how can I live with more love, more courage, more hope and trust that He will guide you, one step at a time. If you ever feel overwhelmed by the search for purpose, remember you don't have to walk this path alone. There's a whole community right here. In this space of people wrestling with the same questions, searching for meaning and connection, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What questions are you carrying? What has helped you along the way? Sometimes, your words will be just what someone else needs to hear. And if today's message has touched your heart, if you feel a spark of hope or clarity, I'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not just so you don't miss future content, but so we can keep building this circle of encouragement together. Your presence matters. Your story matters. You never know who you'll inspire just by being real and showing up. May you wake each day with a sense of possibility. May you rest each night knowing you are loved. May your journey toward purpose be filled with kindness, learning, and peace, no matter your age or your past. And may you discover again and again that God's dream for your life is more beautiful, more surprising, and more full of love than you could ever imagine. Thank you for spending this time with me. Go gently and let your purpose unfold one step, one choice, one loving act at a time. As we walk further along this journey, I want you to picture your own life as a canvas unfinished, colorful, marked by seasons of light and shadow. You may not always see the beauty in each stroke, but the one who created you does. Sometimes we focus so much on what's missing or what we think we've ruined that we can't see the wonder of what's being painted, moment by moment. Even the scars and messy places, when held by God, become part of something meaningful. I know there are times when you feel unseen or ordinary, as if your days blur together in a routine of work, care, and quiet hopes that rarely get spoken aloud. Maybe you feel you've drifted too far or wasted too much time. Yet the story of purpose is rarely about spectacular leaps. It's about the steady return, the willingness to come home again and again, to let God shape your days with patience and love. There's a story Jesus told about a father and two sons. One of them, restless and searching for meaning, left home with big dreams, but found himself lost and empty. Yet, when he came back, the father ran to greet him, not with anger, but with arms wide open. He wrapped his son in love and called for a feast. That's how God responds to each of us, not by counting our failures, but by celebrating every step we take toward Him. In the eyes of God, every return is a new beginning. You might think your life is too small to matter in the grand scheme of things, but if you look around, you'll notice that God often works through ordinary people who are willing to say yes in small ways. Maybe it's a mother who prays quietly for her children while folding laundry, a neighbor who checks in on the lonely, or someone who shows up with a meal during hard times. These simple acts are seeds of purpose, planted in everyday soil, growing quietly into something beautiful. Purpose is less about finding a perfect plan and more about responding to love, with love offering what you have, right where you are. When Jesus spoke about the greatest commandment, He didn't offer a complicated list. He said simply, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Sometimes we overthink it, searching for a grand calling, when the heart of God's desire for us is to be present, kind, faithful, and true. If your heart aches for more, listen to that longing. It's a sign that you were made for deeper things. But don't let it pull you away from the present moment. Sometimes, the door to purpose opens when we learn to embrace today, with all its imperfections. Each morning is a new invitation to show up, to notice beauty, to offer forgiveness, to try again. God meets you not just in mountaintop moments, but in the laundry room, the traffic jam, the tired conversations at the end of the day. And remember, you don't have to walk this path perfectly. Even the saints and heroes of faith stumbled. Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, denied him at the moment of greatest fear, but Jesus restored him, gently asking, "Do you love me?" Not, "Did you get everything right?" but, "Are you willing to start again?" That's the question that opens the door to purpose, not, "Have you figured it all out?" but, "Are you willing to love and try and trust again today?" If you feel burdened by mistakes or haunted by things you wish you could change, let this be a word of comfort. You are not defined by your failures. God's grace is bigger than every wrong turn, every regret. The road to purpose is always open, no matter how many times you need to start over. Each step is precious. Each day is a gift. Maybe you're not sure what to do next. That's okay. Sometimes the most courageous thing is simply to ask, "God, what is the next right thing?" Then be willing to listen with open hands and an open heart. It may be a small step, a phone call, a word of kindness, a moment of honesty with yourself or someone you love. Over time, these small yeses add up, weaving a tapestry of meaning that you may not fully see until you look back one day and realize how far you've come. I invite you, right now, to take a breath and look around your own life. Who are the people you see each day? What are the simple gifts you can offer? Is there someone who needs encouragement? Is there a hurt that needs forgiving? A dream that needs dusting off? Sometimes the purpose you're looking for isn't waiting on the horizon. It's right here, waiting for you to say yes. One more time, and as you continue to seek, remember the journey is just as important as the destination. Don't rush past the small joys or the quiet lessons. Let gratitude lead you, even on hard days. Let hope carry you, even when you can't see what's next. You are not walking this road alone. The God who called you into being walks with you, guiding, loving, gently shaping your life into a story of purpose and grace. There's a beautiful mystery to purpose that unfolds only as you keep walking forward, step by step. Sometimes you look back and realize that the moments you thought were ordinary or even painful have become the places where your faith grew roots. The seasons of waiting, of wondering if anything is really changing, are never wasted with God. He uses them to tenderize your heart, to strengthen your compassion, to teach you patience lessons you'll carry for a lifetime. Maybe you've spent years wishing for a sign, something unmistakable to point the way. But more often, God's guidance feels like a quiet nudge or a gentle light that shows just enough for today. Trust that light. If you're still longing for direction, know that the longing itself is proof of your openness, your willingness to be led. Don't let impatience steal your joy. God isn't in a hurry. He's invested in your growth, your healing, your becoming. Sometimes, your purpose is most visible to others, even when you can't see it yourself. I remember a story about a man who worked in a grocery store for decades. He never gave a public speech, never built anything grand. But every day he greeted customers with kindness and remembered their names. He noticed when someone seemed sad and always took an extra moment to ask how they were doing. When he retired, people from all over the neighborhood came to thank him because his simple presence had made their lives better. He didn't need a stage to live his purpose. He just needed to show up and love well, wherever he was. Maybe that's you, too. Maybe your greatest gift is your presence, your reliability, your steady love. Maybe your purpose is woven into the routines that seem so ordinary, raising children, caring for aging parents, being a safe place for friends who need to talk. You may never get an award or headline for these things, but God sees them. Heaven celebrates every act of love, no matter how quiet. Purpose also means facing the places where you feel empty or afraid and letting God meet you there. Sometimes the next step isn't doing more, but finally letting yourself receive care. Are you tired? Let yourself rest. Are you hurting? Allow others to help or reach out for support. You were never meant to carry everything alone. Even Jesus, in his hardest hours, allowed others to comfort him. Purpose isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about learning to live in community, sharing burdens and receiving grace. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when old voices tell you you're not enough, or you're too late, or you should have done more. But God's voice is different. His Spirit gently calls you beloved, chosen, needed, forgiven. He reminds you that your value isn't measured by how much you accomplish, but by who you are, his child. You might wonder, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I step out and fail? Friend, every person of purpose has faced the same questions. The difference isn't in having perfect confidence. It's in being willing to try, to learn, and to trust that even mistakes can be redeemed. Sometimes, the most important thing you can do is simply take the next step, however small it seems. As you move forward, God will meet you there, opening doors you couldn't see and giving you strength you didn't know you had. It's also important to remember that your story is still being written, no matter your age or background, no matter how many setbacks or second chances you've needed. God can bring new beginnings. The pages ahead are not blank. They're filled with the hope of what can happen when you say yes to love, to forgiveness, to faith. Don't let the past decide your future. Each new day is an invitation to begin again. Take a moment and breathe that truth in. Your life matters. Your presence is a blessing. Your kindness can be a turning point in someone else's story. Maybe today, your purpose is simply to be present for someone who needs a friend, or to show courage by asking for help yourself. Maybe it's to forgive, to listen, to hope again, to speak gently, or to act boldly. God's purposes are as varied as his children, and there's space for you to live yours, fully and freely. As we continue this journey, keep your heart open to surprises. Sometimes purpose shows up where you least expect it, in a conversation that lifts your spirits, a new opportunity that excites you, a moment of quiet that brings you peace. Stay curious about your own life and let God surprise you. Even now, he's working in the background, weaving together your joys and sorrows into a beautiful tapestry. So, if you're still wondering how God wants you to live, remember He calls you to walk in love, to live honestly, to forgive freely, to hope deeply, and to trust that each day holds meaning. Your life exactly as it is right now is sacred ground for purpose to grow. There's something powerful that happens when you stop comparing your journey to everyone else's and start embracing the life that's yours alone. Maybe for years, you've measured your worth by what others have or what you haven't accomplished yet. But God sees things differently. He looks at you with eyes full of love, knowing every step that's brought you here, every scar and victory, every moment you almost gave up, and every time you started again. If your path has been winding, with detours and delays, that's okay. Some of the most beautiful stories are the ones that took the longest to unfold. Don't rush yourself to catch up to anyone else's timeline. God is writing something uniquely precious in your life. Something that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances or non-stop progress. Sometimes, what feels like a setback is actually a turning point. An invitation to trust deeper and live more authentically. It's natural to wish for a life that's smooth and predictable. But purpose often grows best in the soil of challenges, where you have to lean on grace and discover strength you didn't know you had. Think of all the people you admire. Chances are, their journeys have included heartache, struggle, and seasons of waiting. Those are the chapters where real character is formed, where faith takes root. Maybe you've spent a lot of energy trying to hide the broken places in your life. Maybe you've told yourself that if you could just fix this or change that, you'd finally be worthy of purpose. But what if the very things you're ashamed of are the things God wants to use most? There is healing in bringing your story into the light, in letting go of shame and allowing yourself to be seen as you truly are. You don't have to have it all together to begin again. And as you walk forward, don't forget to celebrate your progress. It's easy to focus on what's left undone. But every small act of love and courage is a step toward purpose. When you show up for yourself and others, when you choose to hope instead of giving in to despair, you're moving in the direction God wants for you. Let yourself recognize and give thanks for these moments. They are the seeds of a purposeful life. There's also a quiet joy in learning to live in the present, even as you look to the future. Sometimes purpose feels far away, like something you'll discover someday when everything lines up just right. But the truth is, you're living it already, in the way you care for your family, do your work, show up for friends, and treat strangers with kindness. Every day is a new opportunity to practice love, to grow, to forgive, to create something beautiful out of what you've been given. If you ever find yourself feeling alone in this journey, remember, you're not. There are people right now, some you know, some you haven't met, who are on a similar path, learning how to trust, to heal, to find their way. And there is always one who walks beside you, even in your loneliest moments, guiding and cheering you on. When doubts creep in, as they will from time to time, let them remind you to lean on grace. God's purpose isn't a tightrope you're bound to fall off. It's a wide, welcoming path where mistakes are lessons and each new day is a chance to begin again. If you lose your way, you're always invited back. Maybe you're wondering how to keep moving forward when life feels uncertain. One way is to stay open to learning. Be curious about yourself and the world. about what brings you joy and what stirs your compassion. Ask questions. Seek wisdom. Listen for God's gentle voice in the ordinary. Sometimes He speaks through Scripture, sometimes through the kindness of a friend, sometimes through a quiet nudge in your own heart. And when it comes to making decisions, trust that you don't have to have every answer right away. Take the next step that feels right, and let God guide you as you go. Don't be afraid to ask for advice or to lean on others for support. Purpose grows best in community when you share your story. Ask for help and offer encouragement in return. There's no shame in needing others, just as there's no shame in starting over. If you're in a season of healing, let that be your purpose for now, to rest, to recover, to trust that new life is coming. If you're feeling strong, let your purpose be to lift someone else up, to share your light in whatever ways you can. At the end of the day, living with purpose isn't about striving to be perfect or important. It's about choosing love again and again. It's about finding joy in the simple, faith in the uncertain, and hope that carries you forward. You are exactly where you need to be for God to use you, right here and right now. Let your story unfold, one ordinary, beautiful moment at a time. You are part of something much bigger than you can see, and your purpose is unfolding with every step you take. Some days, you might feel like you're moving in circles, wondering if anything you do truly matters. Maybe you've faced seasons of discouragement when your prayers seem to hang in silence, or your efforts feel invisible. In those moments, it's easy to question whether you're living with purpose at all. But hear this, God is never counting your progress by the same measures the world uses. He sees your heart, your faithfulness, your willingness to get up each day and try again. If you've ever found yourself discouraged because you aren't doing something big enough, let that weight fall from your shoulders. Purpose isn't about how loudly you live or how many people notice. It's about your intention, your decision to keep loving, keep learning, keep showing up, even when you don't see the results right away. Think of a gardener who tends to seeds long before anything breaks the surface. Much of what matters in this life is happening out of sight, growing deep and strong before it ever blooms. There's a certain holiness to small things done with great love. A gentle word offered to someone on a rough day. A quiet prayer whispered for someone you've never met. A small sacrifice that only you and God know about. These are the moments where purpose takes root. Sometime, the ripple effect of your kindness goes further than you'll ever know, touching lives in ways you can't imagine. Maybe you're a parent who wonders if your efforts make a difference, or a friend who quietly checks in when others are hurting. Perhaps you're someone who offers patience when frustration would be easier, or who works behind the scenes to make life a little brighter for others. These acts may not fill headlines, but they fill heaven with joy. Never underestimate what God can do with your willingness to serve right where you are. And if you're facing struggle or loss, if grief or disappointment has left you feeling empty, remember that God is especially close to the brokenhearted. Sometimes, your greatest purpose comes through your deepest pain, when you comfort someone with the same compassion you once needed, or when your own story of healing becomes a light for others still in darkness. You may not choose these chapters, but God can redeem them. There is hope, even here. It's okay if your journey looks different from what you once imagined. Sometimes dreams change, or life circumstances reshape your plans. That doesn't mean you failed or missed your chance. God's story is wide enough for every twist and turn, every new beginning after an ending. He's not limited by your disappointments or detours. He meets you in them as you continue to seek purpose. Practice kindness to yourself as well. You don't have to prove your worth by working yourself to exhaustion or by saying yes to every request. Rest is holy, too. When you take time to renew your strength, you're honoring the God who created you, body and soul. There will be seasons for action and seasons for quiet, and both are needed for a life well lived. If you ever feel unqualified or unprepared, recall the stories of those God called throughout Scripture. Moses was shy and hesitant. David was overlooked by everyone but God. Mary was a young girl with more questions than answers. Peter stumbled, doubted, and denied, yet each of them was chosen, and each found their purpose in trusting God. One small step at a time. If you feel ordinary, you are in the best of company. You don't have to be perfect or have all the answers. To begin, just bring your honest self, your willingness, your hope. Offer what you have and let God do what only He can do. Sometimes that means making a difficult choice or stepping out in faith when you're unsure of the outcome. Sometimes it means waiting with patience or surrendering a dream so that something new can grow. Try to notice the signs of purpose in your everyday life, the moments that make you feel alive, the causes that move your heart, the people who seem drawn to your encouragement. These are often clues pointing you toward the path God has for you. Pay attention to what brings you peace and joy, what stirs your compassion, what opportunities appear when you're willing to say yes. And if today feels quiet or uncertain, trust that God is still at work, weaving together your story. Nothing is wasted. Every chapter, every lesson, every act of love is part of a greater tapestry. You may not see the whole picture yet, but one day, you'll look back and marvel at how purpose was being shaped in ways you never expected. Let that truth settle into your heart. You are part of something sacred, and your life, just as it is full of meaning. God delights in you on the good days and the hard ones, in your strengths and in your struggles. Keep walking forward, gently and bravely, knowing that your story is not finished and your purpose is unfolding. Even now, as your story unfolds, you may find yourself entering new chapters that you never expected. Life brings changes, a new job, an empty nest, retirement, or even a move to a new city. Each season comes with its own joys and its own uncertainties. And sometimes, the search for purpose begins all over again. It's normal to feel a bit lost or restless when familiar routines fall away. But take heart, God's purpose for you doesn't end with one chapter. It evolves and deepens with every change. There's a special wisdom that comes with time and experience. You've weathered storms, celebrated victories, and learned lessons that only life can teach. Sometimes your calling is to share that wisdom, to become a mentor, a steady friend, a voice of encouragement for those just starting out. You might not realize how much your story can help someone else, but the simple act of listening, sharing, or showing up is often the greatest gift you can give. If you're adjusting to a slower pace or more solitude, remember that purpose isn't measured by busyness. There's beauty in stillness and in being present for the quiet moments, a warm cup of tea, a walk in nature, time spent with God in prayer. Sometimes, the greatest clarity about purpose comes when you slow down enough to really listen to yourself, to your heart, and to the gentle whisper of God's Spirit. And if you find yourself longing for deeper relationships or new ways to serve, be open to unexpected invitations. Purpose often arrives disguised as a small need, a neighbor who could use company, a friend who needs encouragement, a grandchild who looks up to you. Every age, every circumstance holds opportunities to love and to be loved. You are never too old, never too inexperienced, never too far gone to make a difference in someone's life. Sometimes, the work of purpose is inward. Maybe this is a season for healing, for letting go of old hurts, or for forgiving yourself and others. True purpose grows best in a heart that's learning to receive grace and to extend it. You may discover new dreams or revisit old ones you set aside. The God who created you is always inviting you to grow, to hope, to begin again no matter how many times you've started over. Remember too that faith itself is a journey, not a finish line. There will be days when you feel confident and full of hope, and days when questions linger. That's part of being human. You are loved in both your strength and your uncertainty. Don't be afraid to bring your whole self to God, the doubts, the hopes, the disappointments, the gratitude. He receives it all, and He never tires of your prayers. Even when words run out and only your heart can speak as you look back, you may notice that the moments of greatest meaning were often the simplest, a hand held in comfort, a word spoken at the right time, a shared laugh, a tear wiped away. These are the fingerprints of God's purpose in your everyday life. Don't discount the impact of your kindness. Even a single act of encouragement can ripple through generations. If you're facing transitions, approach them with curiosity and trust. Ask, God, what do you have for me here? Who can I serve? What can I learn? Stay open to surprise. Sometimes, a new hobby, a volunteer role, or a friendship can open doors you never expected. If fear or hesitation tries to hold you back, remember the same God who has carried you this far will not let you go now. Let yourself dream again, even if those dreams are small. Maybe it's writing a letter, learning a new skill, traveling somewhere you've always wanted to go, or starting each morning with gratitude. The practice of looking for purpose in every day turns even the ordinary into something sacred. And don't forget to celebrate how far you've come. Pause and recognize the ways you've grown, the burdens you've released, and the hope you still carry. You are evidence of God's faithfulness. Your life is a testimony, whether you realize it or not, and you are still becoming all you are meant to be. As we near the end of the journey together, let your heart be lightened by this truth. Purpose is not a destination you reach. It's the path you walk, the choices you make, the love you give and receive along the way. You are living your purpose right now, simply by being present, being honest, being willing to love and be loved. May you feel God's delight in every step, His comfort in every sorrow, and His guidance in every uncertainty. Keep moving forward, open to what's next, and know that the best chapters may still be ahead. As we draw this journey to a close, pause with me for a moment. Let your shoulders relax. Take a deep breath Know that you have traveled far, not in miles, but in the quiet landscapes of your own heart. You've dared to ask questions that matter, to look honestly at your life, and to listen for God's voice in places both familiar and new. That alone is an act of courage and hope. If you take nothing else from these words, let it be this: you are not alone. No matter how winding your path has been, no matter how many times you've started over, God has been with you in every step. His love has never let you go. You are not forgotten or overlooked. You are cherished, noticed, and held. Your journey is seen, your tears are counted, and your smallest kindness has never been wasted. It's easy to feel, in the busy swirl of life, that purpose is something out there, some great goal always just beyond reach. But your purpose is right here, woven into every day you're given. It's in the gentle way you greet a new morning, the patience you offer a child, the forgiveness you give yourself after a hard day. It's in the simple prayers you whisper when you're unsure, in the small steps you take when you're afraid, in the willingness to try again when you feel tired or discouraged. If ever you doubt your worth, remember this: God's love is your truest foundation. You don't have to earn it, perform for it, or compete for His attention. He delights in you because you are His, and there's nothing you could do to change that truth. Your purpose will always grow best when rooted in that unshakable love. When new questions arise, and they will, don't be afraid. Purpose is not a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It is a lifelong unfolding. You will have seasons of clarity and seasons of waiting. You may be called to new adventures, or asked to stay faithful in familiar routines. Trust that God is guiding you, even when the next step feels small or hidden. The light you need will be given when you need it. The strength you lack will come as you walk forward in faith. Stay open to community. We are not meant to walk alone. The wisdom you gain, the burdens you carry, the dreams that stir your heart, these are gifts to be shared. Don't hesitate to reach out, to ask for help, or to offer a listening ear. Often, purpose is revealed not in isolation, but in connection with God, with others, with the world that needs your kindness. You may never know whose life will be changed by your presence. If you find yourself weary, remember to rest. God is as present in your quiet as He is in your striving. Rest is not weakness. It is an act of faith. It says, I trust that God is at work. Even when I am still, in your resting, you are renewed to keep living with purpose and joy. Let gratitude guide you every day. Find one thing, however small, to give thanks for. Gratitude opens your heart to God's goodness, helps you see beauty where you thought there was only routine, and turns the ordinary into the sacred. When you look back years from now, you'll see that a grateful heart is the soil where purpose grows. As you move forward, invite God into each day. Let Him shape your plans, guide your steps, and hold your worries. When you feel lost, turn to Him. When you feel blessed, share your joy with others. When you face disappointment, remember that even broken dreams can lead to unexpected new beginnings. And never forget your life, just as it is, matters. You are here for a reason. Your kindness, your faith, your willingness to hope and love. These are the gifts you offer the world. Let your light shine, even when it feels small. Someone nearby needs exactly what you have to give. As you go, I invite you to stay connected. Share your thoughts and your story in the comments below. This is a space for encouragement, honesty, and support, a community for people just like you who are learning to live with purpose, day by day. If these words have helped you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need hope today. May you walk into tomorrow with courage. May you wake each morning with the confidence that God is with you, working through every detail. May you be surprised by joy, strengthened by hope, and comforted by love. Your story is not over. Beautiful chapters are still being written. Thank you for sharing this time. May you live each day knowing you are loved, guided, and never alone.